fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
What a season we have had so far, and it all comes down to tonight, the sixth and final round of the third season of the Pro Truck Showdown here at the magnificent Phillip Island circuit just off the coast of Victoria in Australia. This is one of those tracks that has put on fantastic racing in this series from the outset, with a fast and flowing layout. Really puts importance on managing your weight transfer in these Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 trucks. Brenton Hobson leading the championship going into this final round, and we expect him to lead as well with the one drop round applied. So let's see if he can hold on to this and take the title in style, or if Justin Howe can pip him at the final hurdle. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box once again is Cameron Dance. Well, Cam, on production is Jay Kennedy as usual, and the team back together once again. I'm looking forward to seeing some truck racing at Phillip Island.
Yes, it's been a little bit since we've been here, but every time I've come here, it seems to produce really, really good racing and been some exciting battles all throughout the field. So looking forward to tonight, and who's going to end up coming out on top?
Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, of course, located on Phillip Island, just outside the bay of Melbourne and just off the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria. This track has been around since the late 1950s, opened in 1956, but racing at Phillip Island dates back to the 1920s. The old rectangular circuit at Cowes on the north of the island was actually the host of the race considered now as the first Australian Grand Prix. So there's an awful lot of racing history around here. And Phillip Island's actual layout here at this modern circuit has only changed once in 1988, when it was reformatted for MotoGP and World Superbikes. But Cam, the Honda hairpin, it is tighter than it used to be, but other than that, the circuit is exactly the same as it was.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's produced really, really good racing every single year it's been around, and even with the changes it's had, it's still a fantastic circuit, and even just a hot lap around, it's really, really fun with the fact you've got undulation and cambered corners and various other characteristics of the track that you wouldn't normally find at certain other tracks as well. So it's just one of those tracks that you're typically always going to enjoy racing and driving around.
Indeed. We're in qualifying at the moment, and typical format here for this championship. Drivers only get one lap in qualifying over the 6-minute session. So if you want to nail your spot on the grid, you have to hit all of your marks perfectly. We're looking at Aaron Dillon at the moment, watching him go through Hayshed, just hanging the tail out ever so slightly on the run up to Lukey Heights and braking pretty late. These trucks, you don't have to have a particularly long braking distance in these things, but there's still an awful lot of weight to throw around, and the grip that these off-road racing tyres offer you on tarmac is not the greatest, so it takes a lot of effort to wheel a truck around Phillip Island. He hugs it nice and tight through the penultimate corner, and then into the final corner we might see a slight little lift, if not completely flat out. It looks like Dylan just slightly getting onto the brakes a little bit, but getting a little bit crossed up on the run up to the line. That's going to compromise him, cost him a few tenths. 1:49. Doesn't look like that's actually counted as a proper lap time. Justin Howe, though, has gone to the top on a 1:48.0. Brenton Hobson, though, pips him by nearly 0.4 of a second. Mitchell Mcleod's going to be one of the next across the line. 1:48.208 for him. That is third for the time being. Looking at Brady Baldwin as well, the owner of Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. And he had a reasonably good run last round at Okayama. finishing around top 6, top 7. Let's see if he can improve here tonight as he goes through the final corner. We've got 4 drivers, including Brady, that have not set lap times yet in this session. Aaron Dillon is one of them, and he's not going to set a lap time in this one. Neither is Brian Trezise. Ryan Jones coming to the line as well as Baldwin sets a 49.8. Ryan Jones sets a 48.771, and that puts himself into P6, so not a bad qualifying performance there.
Yeah, certainly not too bad of a performance there. Probably would have liked to have been possibly a little bit higher up the order, but looking like Hobson's started his night off in probably the best way he possibly can, with a very, very nice buffer over everybody else in his championship rivals.
Yes, indeed, and he's just having fun out there at the moment on his in-lap. Brenton, the star driver of this season, Justin Howe has really given him some good battles over the course of the season, but Hobson has come out on top just about every time, and that's why he is in the championship lead, even with drop rounds applied. And he's going to start on pole alongside his championship rival. Mitch Mcleod is third alongside Gregory Favell. It's another good performance there from Gregory, with Daniel Stevens and Ryan Jones sharing the third row of the grid. Damian Westbrook and Brady Baldwin are going to share row 4, the 73 and the 7, and there's nearly a second's difference between the two of them. Phillip Howe and Jaden Russell are going to round out the top 10, with a very narrow gap between the times for those guys. Riccardo Morganti, the last driver to set a time, and then we have Aaron Dillon and Brian Trezise rounding out the 13 truck field for this final round of the championship, presented as always by Scumander Coffee Mug and Hot Toddy's Heating Installs. Now, Cam, this grid is a little bit uphill, so it's going to be difficult to try and get the optimum start, but those are the championship standings going into this round. If Justin Howe finishes down the order and Daniel Stevens can take advantage, he might just be able to grab second overall.
Yeah, certainly. Still some to play for keeps, especially the likes of Ryan Jones and Favell equal on points heading into this round, and still yet to see a drop round be taken into it as well. So that's going to play into the points as well come at the end of the night, but won't see too much shuffling going on in the championship. But it's very, very close from pretty much third on back, really.
Yes, indeed. See Ben Snell just there in 10th place. Snell, unfortunately, not here tonight, so there's a chance he might drop out of the top 10. But we're getting ready for the gridding time to go down. The revs rise. Race 1, 5 laps at Phillip Island, and we are away, and it looks like a pretty good start there from Brenton Hobson. He moves ahead, but there's a big incident in the back, and that's, goodness me, who is that? That's Brady Baldwin, who has really come a cropper coming off the start. He got hit into the pit wall there by Jaden Russell. So not a great start for him as they go through turn 2, the southern loop for the first time. Howie getting up the inside of Brenton Hobson and pushing him wide, going for the race lead. Mitchell Mcleod will try and take advantage of this as well as Stevens gets off the circuit and almost swipes into the side of Damian Westbrook. Gregory Favell is right here with the top 3, and Hobbo getting off into the grass. Got to be careful on the run up to the Honda hairpin. Goodness me, what a great start here. Oh dear, Jaden Russell has gone off track on the inside of the hairpin. He's just managed to get going himself as, wow, Mitchell Mcleod getting Brenton Hobson shuffled out of the way. Oh my goodness, Hobbo getting into the wall, coming out of Siberia. That is a dramatic start for the championship leader.
Yeah, it certainly is, and probably not the way you will have hoped as well, as now he's into the clutches of Ryan Jones and Damon Westbrook, and Westbrook just off the road in the background manages to barely hold on to it, nearly sideswipes Daniel Stevens in the process, and Ryan Jones now really pressuring the back of Brenton Hobson, looking to set up a move on the way down through MG. Not going to be able to do it this time. We'll probably get a move done into turn 1. A little bit of check going on there in the front of the field, but those top 3 have really started to break away a little. Yeah,
certainly have. The view on board from Daniel Stevens, that's Damian Westbrook just up ahead. as the top three you see just in the distance there. It's Howe, Favell, and Mcleod. Gregory Favell has had an excellent run here on the first lap. The view back from Justin Howe, you see Favell there on the left side of the screen with a slight bit of side draft down the straight. Mitchell Mcleod has a massive draft himself and just gives Howie a little bit of a bump to try and keep both of them in the fight there with Favell. But the number 76 gets up the inside into turn one. That is a good textbook move there from Gregory, and his late season form has been nothing short of fantastic as Mcleod now gets up the inside of Justin Howe and moves to second.
Yeah, very, very nice move there by Mcleod to move into second, and now Howe's going to try and want to get on back by, but Mcleod's looking to size up Favell on the way down towards the hairpin. He's going to look to the inside of Favell. Howe's going to go to the outside of Mcleod, and Mcleod is just going to sneak up the inside. A little bit of argy-bargy going on just behind between Hobson and Howe, but Mcleod's going to be stuck on the outside for Siberian. Is not going to be able to complete that move that time by.
Indeed, Brenton Hobson has absolutely rocketed up to the back of the top three, wasting no time trying to get this race lead back as Howe and Mcleod coming together just there ahead of Brenton Hobson coming up through Hayshed. Ryan Jones is going to have to look out from behind because these guys are going to start battling, and he's got Westbrook and Stevens to worry about just behind. Let's see if Jones can involve himself in this top four battle. If these guys come together, Hobson sideways on the entry into MG, hits Howe, and Howe almost getting into Mcleod. Brenton Hobson is having a couple of issues here getting positions back.
He doesn't really seem to be able to capitalize on his pace that he's recently had, and his qualifying pace for that matter, to be able to move his way back to the front of the field. But he's just biding his time by the looks of it. He's starting to run out of laps to get to the front of the field, but he's at least in the lead train now, so he should be able to start to move on forward. And he's going to set up a move on the inside of turn one on Justin Howe as they dive on in, and Hobson going to take that one straight off Justin Howe.
Yeah, good. And Justin Howe just backing out there to let Hobbo through. Leave both of them to fight another day. Unfortunately, Brady Baldwin, you just saw in the pits, has retired due to damage. He won't be happy with the start there versus Jaden Russell. We'll see how that works out between them as the night goes on. But Gregory Favell now starting to come under some pressure from Mitchell Mcleod here as they come into Honda once again. Howe getting up the inside of Hobson, and contact between Favell and Mcleod. Favell shuffled out wide. Hobson shuffling Mr. Howe out of contention, potentially for the podium, because Ryan Jones is taking great advantage through Siberia. Oh,
yes,
have a look at Hobbo.
Very, very good advantage in Hobbo with a move up the inside on Mcleod at Siberia. Going to be side by side on the way down towards Hayshed. Hobbo's going to be on the inside as they come up towards Loogie Heights, and he's going to get that position for Val up the inside of Mcleod as well. So Mcleod going to be left to hang out to dry a little bit on the outside, but he's going to manage to hold it tough and get that position back. So he's going to sit in second for the time being. And back in the background as well, Jones trying to go around the outside of Justin Howe at MG.
Clean racing between the two of them. They're giving each other a good amount of racing room. Justin Howe just running a little bit wide through the final corner as just behind them, Damien Westbrook getting massively sideways, and he'll come under pressure from Stevens down the straight. Ryan Jones with the racing line on the inside, unfortunately not able to take advantage as Justin Howe just gets on the power a little bit better around the outside as it's side by side just behind as well between Stevens and Westbrook. Mr. Howe is ahead of Mr. Jones coming into turn one, and the move will be complete there. And Daniel Stevens is going to have to stay behind Damien Westbrook for just a couple more corners at least. Brenton Hobson, though, is under massive pressure from Mcleod and Favell just up ahead. That top three continuing to be one of the closest fights on the entire track.
Yeah, it certainly is really becoming a very, very close fight on track at the moment. It's only going to get stronger as the lap count gets very, very low and that white flag starts to drop. So those top three really ensued in a very, very heated battle at the moment, and you really can't count out just now Westbrook or even Jones to possibly get into that lead battle as well, should something happen to these top three.
Yeah, you just saw Westbrook getting by Ryan Jones, but Jones getting into the back of Westbrook there. Westbrook recovers, and Unfortunately, Jones running wide in Siberia, giving the line to Daniel Stevens. He is going to move back ahead, though, coming into Hayshed, so I don't know if he has too much to worry about there, but oh, goodness me, getting right off the circuit, and Stevens just sweeping around the outside to take that 6th position. Ryan Jones has been up and down a little bit in position over the course of these laps, but it is lap 4 of 5, and the lead battle is going to get super tight as they come onto the white flag lap.
Truck going to really play havoc in this final lap as well, with the fact that you've got that lead battle between Hobson and Mcleod, and Favell just sitting casually in the background as well, really getting close. And Mcleod's going to pull to the outside, nearly a little bit of contact between himself and Hobson as they get the white flag this time by. Mcleod's going to try and hold it around the outside at turn 1, or is he going to back out of it? He's going to try and muscle his way around, but it's looking like it's going to be Hobson. It's going to come out of it ahead. Favell in there as well. He's going to look to the outside at Southern Loop to try and set up a run on the way down towards the hairpin, and looking like also that Justin Howe is not too far in the distance, so he's looking to try and get into this as well.
Justin Howe has completely dropped the battling trio of Westbrook, Stevens, and Jones. Here comes Mcleod. He's trying to set up a move into Honda, but Hobson going defensive. Mcleod, though, oh, goodness me, just pinched the rear brakes. He has to back out of that. And now it's a big battle for second as Justin Howe tried to get up the inside of Gregory Favell there. Favell keeping him behind for now. Mcleod pushing very hard into Siberia. Gets a bit of a hip check from Favell. Gregory has to back out of that and let Justin Howe alongside him. So it's a very tight battle for 3rd place at the moment. But let's see if Favell can hold Howe off, and it looks like he can for the time being. Hobson has a good enough gap over Mcleod that he can probably keep himself ahead here in the final couple of corners of the lap. But a very dramatic opening race here for our championship leader. We thought that he might be out of contention for a podium, but his pace holds true, and it looks like with just one corner to go, he's going to come through for a win. Justin Howe just getting off the circuit in the background as Favell continues to keep him behind. And out of the final corner they come. It's going to be a drag race. Let's see if Mcleod can draw alongside Hobbo across the line. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But Hobson taking it, and Favell just keeping Howe behind him for 3rd place. It was a very close finish as well between Westbrook and Stevens. Fantastic racing all through the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very close and very, very good racing all through the field. Not a lot of really big incidents at all. So really, really good to see that everybody's come away with that one in mostly one piece.
Well, those are the results then. Just 1/10 of a second, the gap between Hobson and Mcleod. Between Favell and Howe, it was half a tenth, with Westbrook and Stevens separated by a tenth himself. The sole retirement from this race, of course, Brady Baldwin, who was out on the first lap. So, time then for the starting grid for race 2. And looks like it's going to be a top 7 invert, which I certainly wasn't expecting. It's going to be Ryan Jones starting on pole alongside Daniel Stevens. Westbrook and Howe sharing row 2. Favell and Mcleod on row 3, with Brenton Hobson in 7th place. Aaron Dillon and Phillip Howe, along with Jaden Russell, round out the top 10, with Brian Trezise, Ricardo Morganti, and Brady Baldwin rounding out the field. It's going to be an interesting fight back here for Brady Baldwin, but it's going to be all about that start. He didn't quite get the best start in the first race, but Jones is going to be the one we're focusing on here as the green flag flies for race 2, and it looks like a jump start there from Justin Howe. He's going to get a penalty automated from iRacing. He shoots into the lead, but there's going to be a black flag hanging over him there, and he will be regretting that. That's put his championship fight with Brenton Hobson in massive jeopardy as Jones slots into 2nd. Westbrook slotting into 3rd as Stevens tries to keep himself around the inside for Southern Loop. Westbrook just moving ahead, but shuffles himself wide as Stevens goes to take 3rd. And Mitchell Mcleod getting flipped by Brenton Hobson on the inside. There was a bit of a crush going on there with Favell on the outside. They were running 3 wide. Aaron Dillon just getting off the circuit, but recovering very well indeed. So, goodness me, Brenton Hobson, I think a little bit sheepish after that one.
Yeah, certainly will be. And We'll have to see what might come of it, but nevertheless, he's into 4th place as Hobson, and Howell, with that penalty, is going to be dropping down the order in a few laps' time when he has to serve it. So it's not going to be boding well at all for Howell's chances of trying to win the championship. But we'll get a virtual racing skill replay and see what happened. But before Mitchell Mcleod, was a little bit of contact between himself and Favell, and then Hobson just launching it up the inside. Saw a gap, and there was one, but unfortunately it ended in tears for Mitchell Mcleod, and as a result, Mcleod is down in the back of the field.
Well, we know how contact can be in these pro trucks. One slight little tap, if you bang wheels, can send the truck on the outside flipping over. It's a very high center of gravity on these things. Hobbo trying to work his way up into the podium positions here. Stevens just running wide in the penultimate turn. Hobson just sneaks up the inside there, but gets contact with Stevens. They come together, but both recover. Goodness me, that was almost another flip. So Hobson, I think, a little bit frantic here in this race to try and get back to the top positions. That means that Stevens and Westbrook are now going to come together as well. Barely a truck length between them coming down the straight on the run up to turn 1 as there is big draft for the number 76 of Damien Westbrook. He does stay behind Stevens, though, coming into turn 1. Completely cuts the inside of the corner, does the number 3. Very difficult to nail your braking zone into turn 1 in any kind of vehicle. But Justin Howe still holding on to the race lead on track. Unfortunately, that's not going to be where he finishes, depending on if he can extend a gap of some description. As oh, goodness me, Westbrook and Stevens just came together through Stoner Corner. Interlocking wheels again as, oh, that's a late defensive move from Damien Westbrook. Stevens goes into the back of him and Westbrook off the circuit as, goodness me, Brady Baldwin and Aaron Dillon. Baldwin getting spun there as Ricardo Morganti off the circuit as well in the number 29. Another virtual racing school replay so we can check out what happened there. We see Aaron Dillon there just behind Brady Baldwin in the SimSpeed car. So Baldwin went defensive. He checked up right in the middle of the corner there. I think he saw Westbrook coming back onto the circuit and just hesitated getting onto the throttle, and Dillon just went right into the back of him.
Yeah, unfortunately for Brady, and unfortunately not what he will have hoped for at all, but with what was going on, really weren't going to be able to get anything done there and avoid it as Howe comes down onto the lane. So he's serving his penalty, and now it's on between Hobson and Jones for the race lead.
Indeed it is. Hobson on the outside with a little bit of momentum. Ryan Jones just avoiding contact there with the championship leader. He will have the inside for turn 1 though. Hobson just a little bit later on the brakes though. Holds the outside, gets back on the throttle. The rear end swings out and Hobbo will move ahead into Southern Loop. But I think Jones is going to keep him very honest here if he can stay in the draft.
Yeah, certainly. And will be able to try and hold on to the draft. Well, Jonesy should be able to hold on to it reasonably easy with how close he is at the moment. But Daniel Stevens isn't a million miles away, so he won't want to be being too aggressive with his overtakes or being too aggressive in the way that he holds each other up. So they'll want to try and get a little bit of a move on here as Stevens is starting to close that gap down actually in that last corner or so. So Stevens carrying quite some good pace at this stage at least.
Phillip Howe ran wide at the hairpin, and looks like Brady Baldwin just went straight ahead coming into the hairpin. No, sorry, I think that was Aaron Dillon I saw going straight ahead there. But now Brady Baldwin for 8th place, trying on Phillip Howe. Looks to me as though Aaron Dillon has gone back into the pits. He's not very happy with how things have been going in this race, so that's going to be a retirement for him. Missing out on quite a few championship points there. Let's see if Baldwin can try and get past Phillip Howe, the father of Justin Howe, our race director and league owner.
And see what Phillip's going to do here against that reasonably speedy machine behind him of Brady Baldwin, who's trying to recover after what's happened in the last few laps or so to him in this race. And Brady's going to try and set the draft up. He's going to pull 2 the left-hand side to be on the outside for turn 1. He should have enough of a run to get the move done at turn 1. We'll see what's going to happen, though, as they both break about the same point and a little bit of contact on the way into the corner. But Brady going to end up taking that one off Phillip Howe.
And just pushing enough there. Those two guys, they managed to keep it clean just. Meanwhile, Ryan Jones went off the... Oh, goodness me. Big smack there for Phillip Howe on Brady Baldwin. Jones, I was about to say, went wide out of the first turn, and so he's fallen right back into the clutches of Daniel Stevens. They have their side-by-side now on the run up to Siberia with a bit of contact between them. As we check out Jaden Russell now, just ahead of... oh, sorry, that's Brady Baldwin. I keep getting them confused there. Mr. Baldwin now starting to fall back along with Phillip Howe into the clutches of Brian Trezise, who's trying his best to get a few extra positions here. That battle, I think, is going to continue for quite some time in this extended 7-lap second race. But the battle for second is really on. Oh, Stevens has gone into the back of Jones and hits him wide. Coming through MG, Stevens gets on the outside for the penultimate corner. He's going to try and straighten out the acceleration zone here, try and get a run into the final turn, but the momentum just not there. I think he just had to back out of it. He didn't want to go side-by-side with Jones into the final corner. That would destroy their momentum down the start-finish straight and allow them to fall back into Damien Westbrook. But Jones here moving to the outside of the opening turn. Stevens with the advantage on the inside. The momentum is there, but Jones flinging it round the outside to try and keep himself in contention here for second. He'll have the inside for Southern Loop. Some fantastic racing here between Jones and Stevens. Daniel almost running off the track, just had to back out, and goodness me, he's gotten a great run. Ryan Jones didn't get a good run himself. He had to back out of getting on the throttle out of Southern Loop. There would have been a bit too much understeer otherwise, but now Stevens will have the inside for the Honda hairpin, but he's fallen a bit far back there. I don't think he's going to go for the move this time by. He certainly will not, but Jones has gone a bit deep here into Honda. Damien Westbrook is just waiting there in the background saying, hello, I would like to get involved in this.
Yeah, he certainly is, just waiting for the opportunity to present itself to slip up the inside of Daniel Stevens or Ryan Jones and steal a possible podium away from one of these two. Are battling quite hard at the moment. There is still 2 laps to go, so I don't want to be too aggressive, but Westbrook certainly looming in the background and just waiting to pounce.
Aaron Dillon has the receive throughput fell to unacceptable level message in the server. So either he's dropped or he's decided to retire, as goodness me, that was a big hit there for Daniel Stevens on Ryan Jones. Slips on through into second, but don't know how Jones will feel about that one. He did go defensive into MG, but Stevens was going for the same line. So that's what happens when 2 cars try to go for the inside of a corner. We'll see what happens here, as it's going to become a 4-way battle now. Mitchell Mcleod is right on the back of Aaron Dillon and looking to get himself involved here too.
Yes, certainly, and it's 4-car train for the podium places as well now, with the fact that Mcleod has indeed joined the party, and we know how quick Mitch Mcleod is in these Pro 2 trucks, so we'll see what he can do in these last 2 laps and whether he's going to be able to steal a podium away from one of these 3, as Westbrook is really all over the back of Ryan Jones now as they head down towards Honda hairpin. We'll see what Jones is going to do on Daniel Stevens here, as it's looking like there's going to be a move incoming. He looks to the inside as Stevens goes defensive. He's going to make a little bit of contact, and as a result, he's going to have to back out of it. Stevens runs very, very wide as a result, and that's going to allow all 3 of them to go on by, and now Jones is going to be in second, Westbrook third, and Mcleod fourth.
It looked like a slight bit of contact between Jones and Stevens coming into the braking zone. So Stevens got his braking messed up as a result of that. Jones still has quite the advantage over this battling trio here. He's not going to be in any trouble from them for some time. Let's see if Mitchell Mcleod can get the run here on Damien Westbrook coming into Lukey Heights. He just manages to get onto the rear bumper of the 73. Daniel Stevens looking to gain some positions back as well. Westbrook holding on to third, but Mitchell Mcleod going for the move at MG, gets squeezed by Westbrook, and that is the price that the number 73 pays. Hit wide.
Yeah, certainly, and it's not going to be what he will have wanted at all. But now Ryan Jones has been able to break away as a result of what's been going on all behind him with Stevens and Mcleod, and we'll have to see what's going to happen between Mcleod, Stevens, and even Westbrook. And Jones running a little bit wide on the way out of the final corner. White flag this time by, so Jones is going to really need to hustle here on this last lap if he wants to hold off Mcleod. And Stevens looking up the inside on Mcleod on the way to turn 1. And Mcleod going to sweep it around the outside and take that position straight off Stevens.
Indeed he will. Slips ahead on the braking zone into turn 2, but leaves the door open on the inside. Stevens wasn't there to take advantage of it, though. Mcleod just struggling with his rear end on the exit of turn 2. We haven't talked about Brenton Hobson much at all in this one. He is in the lead by a number of seconds, 6.4 to be precise, as the battle between Phillip Howe and Brady Baldwin is still ongoing. Baldwin slipping up the inside there of Phillip Howe and grabbing 7th place, but let's see if Howe can send it up the inside of the hairpin, as there's 2 battles at once going on track at the moment. Howe slips up the inside there of Baldwin. Trezise unable to take advantage of that. Looks like he might have run wide through the hairpin as well. Stevens and Mcleod bumper to bumper here on the final lap. Stevens slipping up the inside into Hayshed. Mcleod has to give him just a bit of room there and manages to hold on to the momentum around the outside. Ryan Jones, I think, is safe as long as there's not a mistake at the last couple of corners. Mcleod, it seems, has held off Stevens there well enough for the time being. Maybe Stevens tries up the inside, has a big look at Mcleod, but cannot take advantage of it. Up the front, though, Brenton Hobson drifting his way through the final corner. Running wide as well, but that's not going to harm him at all. He goes for a big drift on the way through to the finish line, taking 2 wins from 2 tonight. Fantastic performance once again from our championship leader. That is why he is the championship leader. Ryan Jones just going to hold off Mitchell Mcleod for 2nd place there, with Stevens ultimately finishing ahead of Westbrook there in 4th.
And certainly Hobson going to be very, very happy with that, and it'll help his championship pretty much well and truly seal the deal at this point. But it was very, very competitive in that podium battle with Mcleod, Stevens, Ryan Jones, and even Damon Westbrook as well. So can't wait to see what race 3 is going to hold.
Indeed, there are the results then. By 5 seconds, Brenton Hobson took victory from Ryan Jones and Mitchell Mcleod, completing the podium. Stevens and Westbrook round out the top 5. Jaden Russell managing to work his way forward there into P6 from 10th. Phillip Howe up 2 positions, 9th to 7th. Baldwin coming home in 8th, ultimately losing out that battle with the number 96. Brian Trezise is going to finish in 9th, with Ricardo Morganti rounding out the top 10. Justin Howe with a big penalty, finishing in 11th. And Gregory Favell didn't have the best race either. He's going to come home in 12th. Unfortunately for Aaron Dillon, it's going to be a retirement from that first race. So very unfortunate for him. Well, that's going to bring to an end the first couple of races of action here tonight. But there's still one 9-lap race to go. We think that the championship is now Brenton Hobson's with that bad finish for Justin Howe. But we're going to step aside ever so briefly, come back very shortly to take you through the final bit of action for Pro Truck Showdown Season 3, presented by Scumander Coffee Mug and Hot Toddy's Heating Installs.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year. But the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker. Especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs. Any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, you know, it's not a plastic toy. Feels like you can really beat up on it. You know, a lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. You know, this thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you know, you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You know, you can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but you know, the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but you know, the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. You know, it feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. You know, a real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
The fortunes of many will change during the night, but already 12 have dropped out. But it's not so bad when you're the first car through like Paddy Hopko, and here's his main rival, Constantine on Alpha. Standard has been driven flat out from the word go, but it's still got plenty of steam. Deve essere qui. Siamo quasi arrivati? Ancora 1 chilometro.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh
him.
my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
You're watching the Pro Truck Showdown Season 3, Round 6 from the Phillip Island circuit. Brenton Hobson has dominated the night so far. He got a bit of a slow start there in race 1, getting shuffled out of the podium positions, but fought his way back and absolutely dominated the last few laps of race 2. And it seems taking the championship in style. We're in the break between the second and third races at the moment. The drivers are just out there having a bit of fun on the circuit. I'm Reese Gardner, if you're just joining us, and Cameron Dance alongside me in the commentary box. Well, Cam, that invert, the 7th place invert for race 2, didn't seem to affect Brenton Hobson all that much, did it?
No, it certainly did not. So he's managed to come away with 2 wins and done that from pole position in the first race and from 7th on the grid as well in race 2. So he's very much on track to come away with the championship with great ease.
It certainly looks that way. But now we're going to get on here for the third and final race of the night and the very last race of Pro Truck Showdown 3. Brenton Hobson and Ryan Jones are going to start off the front row thanks to their finishing positions in race 2, with Mitchell Mcleod and Daniel Stevens 3rd and 4th. Damien Westbrook in 5th, with Jaden Russell starting alongside him. Phillip Howe and Brady Baldwin are going to continue their battle, and Brady Baldwin not too happy with how Phillip Howe raced him in race 2. We'll see what happens between them. Brian Trezise and Riccardo Morganti are going to round out the top 10. Justin Howe is going to look to work his way forward as he recovers from a penalty in race 2, with Favell and Dylan rounding out the field. The revs rise, and we're going to get racing here for 9 more laps around Phillip Island. Away we go, and it's a great start once again from Brenton Hobson. Ryan Jones bogging down slightly as Mcleod gets a slight advantage. It's a lightning start from Jaden Russell. He's on the outside of Daniel Stevens on the run up to turn 1. They make contact on the way into the braking zone. Mitchell Mcleod slotting ahead of Ryan Jones, taking second place there. Daniel Stevens is going to try around the outside of Southern Loop. Jones just behind. There's contact between Russell and Stevens as the field crushes together in the midst of a very long turn 2. Stevens has to recover there and allow Jaden Russell to get away. Damien Westbrook alongside him. This is going to possibly be ugly coming into the braking zone for the Honda hairpin. Stevens, though, defending from Westbrook as Brady Baldwin tries to get in on the action as well. Hobson holding on to the lead from Mitchell Mcleod, just nailing the throttle and extending his gap.
Yeah, and doing exactly what he needs to at this point in time is just try and pull away from the pack behind and sail off into the sunset. But Mcleod and Jones are certainly not going to be letting that happen anytime soon. They'll be wanting to try and keep up with Hobson and try and challenge for the race win, especially with it being a little bit longer, so they'll want to try and keep up with them there and then try and break away from that secondary pack as well, with Jane Russell, Daniel Stevens and the rest of the field behind.
Brady Baldwin says full sends or no sends, and that seems to be his attitude here as he goes sideways into MG behind Damien Westbrook. There's a bit of a concertina through MG as the two Howes, father and son, side by side in the penultimate corner. Phillip just stays ahead of Justin as Riccardo Morganti running off the circuit. That'll give an advantage to Brian Trezise for the battle at the rear of the field, but Mcleod and Hobson together, Russell and Stevens together as well. This is the battle here for 4th place. Mcleod slips up the inside of Brenton Hobson, tries to take the race lead. Hobson gave him just enough room, maybe a little less on the inside, but Mcleod takes advantage. Hobbo dipping a wheel into the grass and takes the lead of the race, with Stevens and Russell continuing their fight through turn 2. Stevens just has to slot in behind once again. There's no advantage to be gained through the exit of turn 2, but Mcleod and Hobson continuing to fight it out here. Will Hobbo go to the inside for Honda? Yes, he will. Gets into the braking zone, dives up the inside, takes the lead back, but Mcleod's going to try and hold it here around the outside. He's going to have a little bit of a gap here coming into Siberia, and the camber of that corner working to Mitchell Mcleod's advantage. He can't maximise the exit though, because Brenton Hobson was there on the outside. Another wheel dipped into the grass for the champion-elect.
And what this battling is doing as well is it's bringing Ryan Jones and the rest of that field back into this fight as well for the lead. Jane Russell not too far off the back of Ryan Jones, and Daniel Stevens tucked up right in behind him as well. So it's anybody's guess as to what's going to end up happening here, but they're all very much nose to tail at this point, and you've seriously got a 6-car train on for the lead of the race.
Well, with that little mistake there from Ryan Jones, that's given Mcleod and Hobson a bit of an advantage there in the lead. That's the gap that they've got at the moment. So now it looks to be working towards a 5-way battle for the final spot on the podium. Jones, Russell, Stevens, Westbrook and Brady Baldwin just trailing off the rear here. Damien Westbrook in the draft of Daniel Stevens as Hobson tries again here. Well, Mitchell Mcleod up the inside into turn 1, and he moves ahead at the apex. Mcleod has to lift off and let him go, and they both live to fight another corner.
Yeah, they certainly do live to fight another corner, but it's on behind them as well. You've got Russell really getting pressured by Stevens, who's made a mistake at Southern Loop, and now Westbrook's going to stall up the inside of him to try and get that position off him. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, and nearly worse coming off there. Brady Bowen tucked in right in behind, nearly making it 3 wide as well. And Brady's going to try and follow Stevens on through on the outside. Contact between Westbrook and Stevens, and Bowen going to slop the inside of both of them. Bit of a hip and shoulder there, and he's going to get 2 for 1 in one corner.
Good stuff there from Brady Baldwin, and that was started by Westbrook's mistake. He just went too deep into the hairpin, and he's gone a bit deep into Siberia as well to try and keep Stevens behind him. That's brought Justin Howe into contention as he tries to make up positions from his 11th place start. Howe alongside Stevens on the run into, Hayshed, contact, and Stevens into the gravel trap. He heads for the wall, big smack, and the rear of that truck is gone.
And he's stuck in the wall as well, so he's going to be going nowhere anytime soon, unfortunately. So that's going to be his race and at night coming to a close, only 3 laps into this last race.
That's a big shame for Daniel Stevens. Here's the Virtual Racing School replay. Howe with the momentum, but Stevens just slots ahead coming into Hayshed, but slight bit of rear quarter contact. Stevens tried to recover, but the car just went the other way, and poor Daniel, he's going to end his season on a bit of a low. As we go back to live pictures, Mitchell Mcleod up the inside of Brenton Hobson into the first corner. These guys just trading positions at the moment. And they know that they've got the advantage over Ryan Jones. They can afford to battle like this. But I got to say, Jones and Russell keeping it nice and consistent behind them, and they're gradually decreasing that gap.
Yeah, just being nice and smooth, not fighting between each other and just trying to work together more or less to try and catch up to Mcleod and Hobson. And it's looking like it might just be on for the lead, but Mcleod looks to the outside of Hobson at the hairpin and not going to be able to get a move done there. As Jones had a peek up the inside, but wasn't quite close enough to make anything happen of it.
Yeah, Jones had to back out in the middle of the corner as well. That's brought Russell right into contention. So we've got 2x2 battles at the moment for the top 4 positions on the racetrack. Brady Baldwin has taken advantage of all of the biffing and barging and moved up to 5th place. You just see him there coming into the shot behind through Hayshed. Is just behind him. It's on between Westbrook and Howe as well. Gregory Favell looking to work his way forward too, but it'll be a few more corners before that develops into anything from what we can see. Westbrook just locking up, as is Justin Howe. But they're going to keep their race going just for the time being. Howe is looking to set a move up on Damian Westbrook coming into the first corner here. He's got the entire front stretch with which to take advantage of the draft.
Yeah, he definitely has got that advantage. And Justin Howe tucking right up in behind Westbrook. Looks to the outside, down the front straight. He's going to be on the outside for turn 1. We'll see if he's going to be able to get a move done on the way down as they head down towards the turn 1. He's going to be a little bit on the outside, and as a result, Westbrook's going to hold on to it, but runs a little bit wide, and that's going to allow Howe to do a bit of a crossover and try and be on the outside for Southern Loop. But again, camber of the road not quite working to his aid, runs a little bit wide, and that's going to bring Favell into his clutches as well.
Yeah, Howe had a little bit of a lurch forward coming out of Southern Loop as Jones and Russell together here. Once again, Russell moving to the inside middle of the road for the hairpin, but Jones keeping him behind for the time being, just uses the curb to hook his truck around the corner. That's going to be a battle that continues for quite some time here. It is all on for these top 4 positions, and we don't know exactly how they're going to end up at the end. Brady Baldwin hasn't been able to take much advantage of that battling, though, as Westbrook now has Justin Howe for company coming through Hayshed. What a great angle this is on the curb. You see the amount of dirt being thrown onto the circuit as well, as Howe had to back out of that there versus Westbrook. It seems that trying to run side by side through Hayshed, you have to be basically fully alongside the truck of your opponent in order to get a move done there, as Westbrook just getting a little bit crossed up on the exit of MG. But Howe, once again, cannot take advantage, and Favell having to back out there as well. So, take 2 then for Justin.
Yeah, they take 2. There's contact there between himself and Westbrook. Got a little bit too eager on the throttle there out of the final corner. He's going to run wide, and that's going to allow Favell to draw up alongside on the front straight, and he's going to have a bit of a run as well as Favell, and a little bit of draft as well from Westbrook. So Favell's going to keep alongside Justin Howe, and Howe's going to actually let him on by and slot in behind. So not a silly move there.
No, certainly not. Allows his truck to be preserved just for the time being. It's a three-way fight there for 6th place now between Westbrook, Favell, and Howe, as Mitchell Mcleod in the draft of Brenton Hobson through Stoner. Hobbo keeping it in the middle of the road, coming into the braking zone for the hairpin. Mcleod just not able to take advantage. Just behind, Ryan Jones going for the early turn in to keep Jaden Russell behind. And it seems that the race has calmed down somewhat. Everyone just trying to keep themselves going because they know this race is longer. They can't afford to be making any silly moves, especially here as we're only coming up to 2/3 race distance.
Yeah, still three laps to go this time by, so still plenty to play for at this stage between Mcleod and Hobson, and Mcleod's probably not going to do anything silly until the last lap or so, as he knows he's got the opportunity to get that pass done with reasonable ease with the fact that he's going to have the draft from Hobson, but Ryan Jones and Jaden Russell currently duking it out as well behind them, and there's going to be no love lost between those two.
No, for sure. Seems that the draft is going to be Jaden Russell's down the front stretches. Just behind them, it's now a 4-way battle for 5th. Brady Baldwin has not been able to extract much pace out of that truck of his as Favell goes to move alongside Damian Westbrook. Justin Howe is going to try and follow him through here on the outside. The bump draft is there, and Westbrook just leaving the two of them enough room around the outside. They can't take advantage. Westbrook goes very deep into the first turn, though, and that's lost momentum for him. Another bump from behind by Favell. And Justin Howe just has to stick on the outside and consider what his next move is going to be, as Russell and Jones, just a truck length between the two of them, coming through into Stoner.
Man, Westbrook's going to have to possibly go defensive here on Favell, and he's going to get a little bit of a bump, and that's going to slide him straight on by Brady Baldwin. He runs into the back of him as a result. Howe goes wide. Both of them go wide. Now Howe's going to slip on by, and Westbrook and Baldwin are going to lose 2 out of that.
Well, that was a bit messy. And Westbrook giving the return serve there to Brady Baldwin, as Jones is now behind Jaden Russell. We missed that move being made, but it looked like that might have happened round about the Siberia part of the lap. Actually happened at the Honda hairpin. And Brady Baldwin out of the race now. As we check out the Virtual Racing School replay, we'll check out the move for Jaden Russell on Ryan Jones, and looks like that was Ryan Jones going a bit too deep into the hairpin just up ahead of them. And Jaden Russell slips through on the acceleration, but just behind that very messy incident between Baldwin, Westbrook, Favell, and Mr. Howe, as Westbrook goes very deep into Siberia and just gives Brady Baldwin a good whack.
Yeah, certainly some rubbing in that going, and
no.
that's not too ideal there for Brady Baldwin.
No, that... I mean, I'm not going to make too many comments on that one, but I think if 24/7 Race Control is indeed involved here, they should come up with a decision. And Baldwin obviously very unhappy with Damian Westbrook. But I think on that occasion at least, I know that Westbrook is known as a very aggressive driver, but him going up the inside of Baldwin at the hairpin was not his fault at all. He was actually tapped from behind. So we should probably highlight that, as Hobson moving back ahead there of Mitchell Mcleod. The battle between Jones and Russell still ongoing. Jones has moved back ahead of Jaden into 3rd place as they make their way through Siberia. Gregory Favell and Justin Howe are now a battling pair as well. So all of the positions in the top 6 are up for contention here.
Yeah, they certainly are all up for contention with the battle packs that we've got going on at this point in time. You got Hobson and Mcleod, Jones and Russell, Favell and Howe, all in their own little battle, scrapping for positions whether it be at the front or in that little mid-pack section. And it's going to be anybody's guess to who's going to end up where come the final. Well, the checkered flag dropping at the end of the white flag, which is not too far away as they're going to come by and get the white flag this time by.
Well, Brenton Hobson is the one in the lead. He holds on versus Mitchell Mcleod. The 78 and the 76 together as well through the final corner for 5th place. Justin Howe and Gregory Favell. It's all on here as Mcleod gets a draft on Hobson coming into turn 1. We'll see if he can come away with a move and make it stick as Russell gets up the inside of Jones into the first corner as well. Ryan's going to hold it round the outside there of Jaden. Slip back ahead on the entry into Southern Loop. It's been a reasonably clean battle between Jones and Russell here. It's been very good to watch them battle around the racetrack here tonight. Let's see if Russell can head up the inside into the Honda hairpin, which Hobson is doing there. Defensive versus Mitchell Mcleod. Tries to move back ahead, but Mcleod goes for the crossover. Side by side on the run up to Siberia. Who breaks later? It's Hobson going up the inside and sticking to that inside curb, just hooking the truck around. Very nice battling between those two for the race lead. Now we get to the final half of the lap. What will Mcleod do here? The gap is not there going into Lukey Heights, so Mcleod's not going to go for a move that he knows isn't going to stick. Hobbo was going to try to go defensive, maybe. Oh, Mcleod with a big look up the inside, but Hobbo keeps it in the middle of the road and stops him from getting by. And I think that is all she wrote for that battle. Hobson ahead coming out of the penultimate corner. He should hold on to it through the final turn here. And what more can you say about Brenton Hobson that we haven't already said? He's shown himself to be the star competitor in the Pro Truck Showdown this season, taking the championship in absolute style, and he's going to take the win here from Mitchell Mcleod just by a single truck length. And whoa, the battle between Jones and Russell works out in Jones's favour. 3rd place for Ryan. That was a great battle.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I did think that Russell might have just hit him at the line there, but wasn't to be in at the end, and Jones is going to come away with a podium. But this man on screen, what a dominant performance all season long with some amazing drives. Even when it didn't quite go his way, he still managed to recover very, very nicely, and as a result, he has come away with a nice championship in hand.
He has indeed. So that means Synergy Sim Racing takes the last 2 Pro Truck Showdown titles running, with Glenn Postlethwaite taking the title last season, and Hobbo sending those drifts in pure joy. Mitchell Mcleod is going to join in those celebrations. He should be very happy with his performances tonight as well, but Season 4 is belonging to the number 88 of Brenton Hobson. What a brilliant performance all season long. And I certainly hope that we can get some sign-ups for the next season and get some more drivers in there to challenge Brenton, because I would really like to see a lovely close race for that title. It was a lovely close race for the win, with less than a 10th between Hobson and Mcleod, with also just a 10th between Jones and Russell. Justin Howe managed to beat Gregory Favell by 7/10 of a second. Damien Westbrook comes home in 7th, but a couple of drivers not happy with the moves he was making tonight. Brian Trezise, Phillip Howe, and Ricardo Morganti rounding out the top 10. Brady Baldwin and Daniel Stevens unfortunately retiring from this one, with Aaron Dillon not taking to the start. Some technical issues keeping him from getting into the server again. Well, for the first time this season, we can afford to go for an interview, a series of interviews. The first one we're going to talk to is Mr. Brenton Hobson. Well, Hobbo, championship for you and a dominant performance tonight, taking 3 from 3 wins. Story of your season.
I don't know about story of the season, but it was a good night tonight. We got a bit lucky there with Mitch's barrel roll at the start of the second race, because I think it would have been right on for that one in race number 2, but all the same, it was good racing tonight. I had a lot of fun, like I have done all season.
Yeah, and I think you and Mitch serving as an example of the kind of clean battling we want to see in this series, and Phillip Island really lending itself well to those good draft battles.
Yeah, so many of the tracks that that we've raced at this season have been that way. The faster tracks, they tend to bring all the racing close together, which is good to watch. And that's the whole point of the series, is that you can get the elbows out and race each other nice and hard, and that's what's good to watch. So, it's been a credit to Howie and all the guys that have been putting it on behind the scenes and working hard on it, because it's been a lot of fun to race and hopefully a lot of fun to watch.
It certainly has been a lot of fun to watch. Well, on the team front, Jaden Russell joined you for the last few rounds in the Synergy Sim Racing number 28. Glenn Postlethwaite absent this season, so are you guys thinking of any plans for Season 5?
No, I don't think so. Posy just didn't realise that it was on initially, I think, at the start of the season. That's why I missed the first couple, and then just decided then after that he wouldn't bother turning up for the rest. But he might be back next season if he's not got anything on the same night. So you'd never say never with Posy, and if he turns up, we'll rip everybody because he's so fast. So I'll be happy enough to see him not turn up, actually, if I think about that. But it would be good to see him back, along with anyone that's interested in racing these things, because they are a lot of fun and the racing is always really good. So the more the better. And we did see some massive numbers in this league for a little while, and the racing was extraordinary. So hopefully we can get back to some more of that sort of stuff next season.
We certainly hope so too. Well, Hobbo, the floor is yours. Championship secured. Anyone that you'd like to thank or give a shout out to?
Mainly Howie for persevering and sticking with it. And putting the show on for all of us to come and actually be a part of. And obviously to you guys as well for broadcasting it all and bringing it out to the people to watch. The team, like you said, not anyone much from the team came and raced except for J. Russ there towards the end, so thanks to him for coming and hanging out. And a few of the sponsors on the team, JK Signs, DGD Custom, Aftershock PC, along with all the rest of them. So thanks everyone.
Brenton Hobson, winner of the round and your Season 4 champion. Next driver interview, Cam, you stood by with Mitchell Mcleod, who got a triple podium tonight.
Yeah, certainly not as bad at night overall. You didn't quite end up getting the win, but you came away as the bridesmaid, which is not always a bad thing at the end of the day.
That's not a bad thing. I've always wanted to wear a dress, so it's been quite nice.
Oh, goodness me.
Well, nevertheless, Phillip seems to always put on some really, really good racing, and so far the season's been actually quite good. Did you find that most of the season was actually quite tempting, or was it just a lack of time to be able to commit to the entire season?
Yeah, it was just a lack of time. That's the only thing. So, there's racing, and there's something else that I won't mention on stream that is also quite enjoyable. So I've found the other thing lately. So, it's just things have happened. Racing's been on the back burner a little bit, but it's been an awesome series, and some of the racing this season has been better than last season. So, I think everyone's getting to know who they're racing and what they're like, and as a result of it, it's been awesome. So, good stuff.
Well, nevertheless, can we expect to see you back out there next season, or is it going to be only a few cameo appearances?
I'll be back whenever I'm free, so I reckon I'll be back for sure.
Alright, well, before we let you go, just shout out some sponsors who gets it done for you, man.
I'm going to give a shout out to Ace Karts for rigging my go-kart on the weekend, because Howie beat me in a go-kart, so I'm not okay with that. So apart from that, that's it.
Well, there you have it, Reese. Very, very happy Mitchell Mcleod, and I think we'll wrap it up from there.
Yeah, I think we will. Justin Howe was in the interview booth, but he's left. It's a shame. I would have liked to have a chat with him, but certainly he's got other things on his mind. He's got a couple of things to deal with as league owner. Some of the fallout from this final round of the championship. The fun doesn't stop for Pro Truck Showdown, though. We got a non-championship fun race broadcasted next Tuesday. We hope that you can join us for that here in the SimSpeed TV broadcast chat, and seeing a bit of whinging in the broadcast chat, so we'll bring Ryan Jones in ever so briefly here. Ryan, oh, come on, man.
I was joking.
Oh dear. Well,
Hello.
Either way, just a couple of questions for you. I mean, double podium for you in races 2 and 3. I think you've got to be happy with that.
Yes, third over. It was not a bad night. I had a good battle. I was hoping to keep Hobbo behind me for a bit longer than I did, but man, another one of those tracks where Hobbo's ridiculous fast. Mitch is the only guy that kept up with him. I'd like this entire series held at Charlotte Roval. So if that happen, I'll be happy.
Righto. Well, we'll see what happens about that. Maybe whisper in Justin Howe's ear for that one. It was a good battle as well with Jaden Russell throughout that third race.
Yeah, me and Jaden, that was probably the best battle I've had all season actually with Jaden. Nice and clean, getting on my bumper once. You know, even 2 hairpins, kept it off my rear end even when I was turning. Amazing, and I paid him that same respect back when he got by me. And yeah, it was fantastic, and I'm glad I just pipped the line. I wouldn't have been even battle.
Well,
you got to come out.
yeah, you certainly do, and I reckon that as well as the battle between Hobson and Mcleod serving as an example of the kind of racing that we'd like to see in this series. Well, Ryan, is there anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Just you and Cam for putting on a good show every night and making broadcasts.
I note the omission of Jay Kennedy there, our director, but Ryan Jones there, third place in the night here tonight. Well, Cam, that brings to an end proceedings for Season 4 of the Pro Truck Showdown, and I cannot wait for that fun race next week. We get to let our hair down again and have a bit of fun before Season 5 starts.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be really, really good to see who's going to end up rocking up and what sort of racing we can end up seeing. Hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun and can't wait for it.
Indeed, neither can I. We hope that you've enjoyed our coverage of the Pro Truck Showdown throughout this 4th season, and certainly be bringing more of the same to you next season here on SimSpeed TV. Thanks once again to our series sponsors, Scumander Coffee Mug and Hot Toddy's Heating Installs. I'm Reese Gardner, Cameron Dance alongside me, and Jay Kennedy on directing, making everything happen behind the scenes. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, we say goodbye, but in just a week's time, we're going to rev it up again.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?